I know you're pretty excited about the MOST initiative in Hollywood. Tell me what MOST stands for, what it's all about.
Yeah. MOST is our third initiative. So we make the films, the documentary films that we've been discussing, the 20,000 dialogues, and now a program we call MOST, which stands for Muslims on Screen and Television.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do with that project is simply this. We're trying to create a resource center whereby television writers, Hollywood writers who are including Muslim characters or Muslim storylines in their programs can go to a source that can serve as a clearinghouse in some ways to get them information to make those characters more accurate, to make the storylines truer, to answer whatever questions they may have to help them in this regard. We've now worked on a number of programs and shows and have answered questions from kind of deep philosophical issues to very simple things like what a person would be named if they were living in this society or that society. And so we're kind of trying to cover, as I said, functioning as a resource. So as these folks come to us for this help, we try to provide it to help them do their work in creating images and storylines that are seen around the world on television and in the theaters.
How do you get funded all these things?
Yeah.
Where do you get the money?
We derive, we're a nonprofit corporation.
Right.
Yeah, tax exempt and following all those guidelines. We receive our money, all of the money comes primarily through donations of one type or the other. So we receive, we apply for and sometimes are successful in getting grants from
the foundations?
Yeah, major foundations such as the Doris Duke,
Got you.
David and Lucille Packard Foundation,
Yes.
National Endowment of the Humanities.
I got you.
So that provides...
what about the foreign countries?
No, we don't receive any money.
You do not receive any
no,
money from
no.
foreign countries?
Particularly for the films, because these are films for public television, public broadcast, and we work within. You have to work within a lot of legal requirements for that. So no money for any foreign governments, no money from any foreign institutions. There are, however, some individuals who have given us money from time to time, and that's another source of money. Is individual donations. They come from people. And finally, we do, as I said, we do sell licensing for the films. We do sell DVDs, and some of our films have.
So that's a source of income as well.
Yes, and that as the nonprofit, those profits come back into the organization and also go to help fund the work.
You work at the State Department. We talked about at the beginning of our show. As a producer of your own films and a lecturer, what gives you the most satisfaction?
Well, the thing that really ties all that together, as I said, in addition to sort of the personal quest that I've always had to work for interfaith peace and understanding, but primarily, we always like to, particularly, you can see by my white beard that I'm a, middle-aged man, and we always are reflective of what we are. Who are we really? And I've really come to the conclusion about myself that I am primarily a storyteller. That's what I like to do.
A storyteller.
I like to tell stories. I believe in the power of stories. I think stories can do a lot to bind people together. Stories can do a lot to divide people as well. Stories are very powerful things. And so in all of this work that I've done, whether I'm lecturing or making these films, or even when I was working at State, to me the thing that I did best and the thing that gave me the most satisfaction was in trying to get stories more well known. Stories that could potentially have a positive effect, or at least an educational impact. We don't know enough about the world. However much we know, there's so much more to know. And I believe that it's through stories that we not only come to an intellectual understanding, but we come to an emotional, a heart understanding.
That's the best way to describe that. Both of us share a common faith, and hopefully both of us share a common destiny. Islamic faith teaches equality, dignity, respect, compassion, and tolerance. On the other hand, you have Islamic militants that are given a bad name to your faith. My question to you is, why do you subscribe to the notion of tyranny and terrorism, and they don't give dignity, respect to other faith? Why do they have such a radical, irrational behavior? Could you shed some light on this?
Well, you know,
with your own experience.
Yeah, one of the things that the Gallup poll, and we try to bring out in the film Inside Islam, showed was that when Muslims were polled around the world, approximately about 7% of Muslims around the world would be who we would call people who really had very negative attitudes towards the West, towards the U.S. And
7%?
7%. Not, you know, less than 10, 7%, and had negative opinions, and also were in favor of terrorism. Not saying they themselves are committing it, but they were, you could say, the rooting section for the people going out. Now, the interesting thing was when that group then was a probe for who are they, what are they, why do they think the way they think, what is it that caused them to be that way? None of them, not a single one, offered as a justification or reason for these feelings offered a verse from the Quran or any kind of religious justification. They largely fit the demographics of a revolutionary. They were largely people who wanted to see a certain kind of progress in their society, who felt that their society was being thwarted by an authoritarian overlay of one kind or the other, that they blamed the West for either installing or keeping in place. But their goals were very much secular goals. They were about getting political power. They were about overthrowing regimes, things of that nature. It was not about religion.
Just capturing a power base.
That's right. Now,
that's fascinating.
What has happened, of course, is that as a tool for motivating people to do things, religion can be a very powerful tool, particularly for people who are poor,
yes,
for people who may not be as well educated, and also for people who don't have a lot of options in life, for people whose lives, meaning is a very important thing for people. And there's a lot of lives, perhaps most lives lived in the poor countries, that are pretty devoid of meaning. And so you have folks who have a political agenda who are then able to make an appeal to others to say, here's how your life can have meaning, here's how you can have purpose, here's how you can do something. And so religion gets pulled into that. And this is obviously not something that only Islam has experienced. All their faiths have experienced. People have used religion throughout the history from the beginning of time for their ends. And so I think that that's part of it. And the other part of it is, of course, is that when these folks perpetuate these acts in the name of religion, in this case Islam, they provoke a reaction, not just against them, but against a religion.
Against the whole faith.
Yes, against the whole faith, which has the impact of then...
On 1 billion people.
Right, of them making enemies. It's terrorism 101. Terrorism 101 is you do an act that provokes a blanket response against the society. The society becomes more alienated against the power. It's the same thing. And that's exactly what's happened in the last 8 years. Active terrorism was done to the U.S., provoking the U.S. to do a number of actions that had turned not only Muslim public opinion, but by the way, but world public opinion against the United States. It's a very effective strategy. And so I think that where we are now in the world and in this time of history is we should be thinking less about, these questions about what Islam is and how we need to fix it and so forth. Understand Islam is a religion, and within that there's a subset of people who are using the language of religion to try to have political ends, and we should not play in to the strategy of those folks, and we should not make them the spokespersons of a religion, and that was the other thing too. The poll showed that the vast majority of Muslims, the vast majority, reject many of the ideas and many of the tactics being proposed by them, and yet somehow or another they come to be the spokespersons. Unfortunately,
they have hijacked the Islamic faith,
yes,
religion, which is a very distracting, which is not a good thing in this world, anywhere in the world. Well, thank you very much for coming, Alex.
Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed it very, very much. That is our show. Until next time, this is Frank Islam, FI Investment Group, wishing you a great week.